All right, we are up and hello, everybody. How are you this fine Veterans Day? I'd like to start out with a thank you for any veterans that are in the channel. And just want to remind you that our sacrifices help keep this great country free. Well, you know me, I am Raymond. I'm a wrench for Doomcock, and I am also King Dolphin. And I am very excited today because I've got a special interview for Veterans Day. I am interviewing Wendy Webb. You've seen her in the Doomcock channel. She's the head of the trauma team, and she is a retired Army nurse who went on to become a trauma nurse and eventually rose to the head of the nursing section, the head of the trauma section of the hospital. Before we go on, I'd like to mention that there are things that we can't discuss due to operational security, and there may be some graphic things going on with her stories, but she's going to try and keep it a PG interview. So besides that, let's anything can go, and let's start making some waves. Welcome, Wendy, to King Dolphin TV.
Thank you. Glad to be here. It's nice to see you guys. Hello, the chat. I'm going to apologize for the chat right now. My glasses leave a big glare, so I can't read the chat without my glasses.
Okay. Well, while we're here, let us welcome some of the people that are on. I've learned that you say hello to people, and Doomcock does it as well. Legatus Legionii was the first one here. Welcome. And also the ever loving, blue-eyed Snorter Poopus Q Burr. Welcome, Mr. Bear. We've got some salmon in the back row for you. Sandra, of course. Welcome, honey. The lone wrench of the chat tonight. Hello to Stellar Heather, another wrench that will help us keep order in the mayhem. Welcome to Connie Moody, and hope you enjoy this interview. And that is I like. Let's see. That's okay. I can't read the chat because it's human. Bear wisdom. P-Cat, welcome. Thank you again. And I echo that. Thanks to all who serve, continue to serve, and and have given the ultimate sacrifice. So, having said the welcomes, and we'll catch any welcomes that come on later on, we will get started. So, Wendy, how did you become an Army nurse?
Well, I started out, I started out after basic. I became a surgical technician. And I had already had a bunch of my basic courses already completed because I had actually graduated a year early at 17. So I started college courses before I could even enlist. And so I went in as a surgical technician. And then in 92, I became an RN. And I worked in the operating room in the Army operating room nurse for a couple of years before I really wanted to be a flight nurse. Mm-hmm. And eventually I was accepted into the training and became a flight nurse.
Okay.
And so after 9/11, everybody got real busy.
Mm-hmm.
But I went ahead and I did my 20. I did my deployments, did my 20. And then when I was getting out, I decided I wanted to go back into the operating room.
Okay.
And so I did. And one of the things that I always liked heart surgery. And so after I got off my orientation with operating room, I ended up on the heart team. And while I was working on the heart team, an opportunity came up for me to get what's called my RNFA. And RNFA is a registered nurse first assistant. And basically, I'm assisting surgeons. I'm allowed to suture. I have credentials to suture and basically actually be in there with the surgeon as his backup.
Okay.
And do everything that he does under his watch, of course, not alone.
Okay.
And so then I did that for a few years, and after that, I ended up moving to a trauma shift because of the way they reorganized the operating room staff. I ended up on a trauma shift, and I decided to get my master's.
Okay.
And so then after I got my master's, I still worked as just a regular, trauma surgical nurse. And our director over trauma surgical services in 2016 had retired. And I took her place because I had my master's.
Oh, okay.
And so up until this year, I was the director over surgical services. And then what happened is, not too long ago, the ER nursing director retired. And after 3 months after turning in her paperwork, nobody applied for the position.
Uh-oh. I've seen that before.
Nobody wanted it. And so they kind of pulled me over and said, what we're going to consolidate, and you're going to become the director of nursing over the entire trauma services. And so I'm still trying to feel that one out. That's still kind of new, but I was allowed to bring in my own nurse manager for the ER, who has a lot of ER experience. He was a Marine. He was, deployed in Iraq. He did a lot of ER work in Iraq, and just a really good guy. And so that's kind of how I ended up where I am. My surgical specialty is considered cardiothoracic trauma.
Okay.
So anything in the chest or even in cardiovascular down into the legs and all that, that's my real specialty. And I still like doing patient care, so I keep doing it.
In MASH, in the MASH movie, they call them chest cutters. Do they still
chest cutters? Yeah. Well, we call them. We a lot of times, but they call us chest crackers.
Oh, okay.
We crack chests. Yeah, but chest cutters, chest crackers. Yeah.
Okay. So, did you have to do your nursing boards in the Army, or did you do that?
I did them in the Army.
Okay.
Yeah. Did them in the Army, but then whenever I retired, I had to do my boards for Texas, my Texas boards.
Oh, okay.
So,
okay. So you had to do the double.
Texas is very strict with their boards, nursing boards. So I had to go ahead and get my boards, read and do them there or here.
Oh, okay.
So,
welcome, Brett Cohen. Welcome aboard. Thank you for coming. So what is the size of the trauma section and of the hospital?
The size of the trauma section? You mean like the ER and...
Yeah.
Or the ER has 38 rooms for regular patients, and we have 5 trauma bays. Okay. So we have a total, Now
a trauma bay is
rooms.
It's
a separate area. It's a larger room. Most ER rooms aren't very big, but in trauma, you need to be able to have all sorts of people fit in there with all sorts of equipment. So these are big rooms that can fit people and equipment and everything we need to assess the patients.
Okay.
And so they're separate. And they're just held just for trauma patients. Nobody else goes in there. No patients except trauma patients go into those rooms.
Okay. So how many operating rooms do you have in your section?
Well, the operating rooms are in the OR suites. There's 20 operating rooms.
Okay.
But that's also where we do like our elective stuff, because we have to have like our bypass machines and stuff. And we actually have to put patients on bypass whenever we have like chest trauma and cardiac trauma or aortic trauma. We put the patients on bypass, so they have to go up to the regular operating room.
Oh, okay.
To go on the bypass machine. But it's only an elevator away. I mean, the elevator from the trauma bays goes directly to the operating room. So it just basically wheel them out of the trauma bay, throw them into the elevator. We take them straight up. They come out in the operating room, and then we take them straight into the designated trauma room that we have for. We have different trauma rooms, like for neuro, for heart, for orthopedics, and just for general trauma.
Okay. I remember when I had my heart attack, I went in, and when they put my stent, they went in through the leg, and it was relatively painless. The worst thing I had to deal with was that femstop contraption. I wanted to find after 2 days with that, I actually wanted to find something to destroy it. I said, give it to me. I want to destroy it. They wouldn't give it to me.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most miserable parts of that whole stay. And welcome, Sherry. And for everybody out there, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. This will show YouTube that we're giving good content out there. So, so you told me earlier that it was an 800-bed hospital?
Yep, 800-bed hospital. It's a level 1 trauma center, which is the highest ranking you can have for a trauma center. And we're also affiliated with the University of Texas.
Oh, okay.
We have medical students and all that.
So it's a learning hospital, or is it?
It's a teaching hospital. Yeah, it's considered. It's attached to the university.
Okay. Now, can you go more into the duties that you have as head of the trauma section?
Yeah, kind of boring, I think. No, I mean, I deal with, just the day-to-day operations. I have to keep up with, the staff and making sure things are scheduled, keeping up with everybody. Lots of meetings, a lot more meetings than I like to attend, a lot more. I really don't like meetings.
So you've gone from the operational side over to the administrative side, and
yeah. But I mean, I love doing surgery, and I love doing the traumas, and that's why I stay on. I mean, I'm the only director that works off shifts. Of all the department directors, I'm the only one that still actually works night shifts. But I actually go into the hospital every morning. I try to be there before 7 a.m. so I can be there for handoff report for the ER, for the oncoming shift and the offgoing shift, just so I can keep an idea of everything that's going on. A lot of it is just paperwork, and I know Sandra understands paperwork and auditing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yep, I get stories about her auditing, etc.
Yeah. And budgeting, constantly having to work on budgets, just what will I need, for the next quarter, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I still do. I still like doing my trauma and doing my patient care.
So you work day shift with periodic off shift?
I work my true shift. My true shifts are Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. Mm-hmm. But I go in the mornings, and I usually get to the hospital every morning around 6:30 so that I can go into the ER at shift change and just be there so I can hear them giving reports.
Okay.
The nurses giving reports. And I like being there for that. I don't stick around all day. I usually leave 10 or 10:30 in the morning, unless there's something, happening. But
Mm-hmm.
my true shifts are the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. But I stay active by going in the mornings and being with everyone, so I can be seen, so they know I
Okay.
care.
Well, that's a good thing.
Because I do. I
Yeah.
want to make sure everybody's doing good. Nobody's having any problems. Yeah.
That's true. When they're trying to deal with surgeons, when you're trying to deal with the patient, when you're trying to deal with the patient's
Yeah.
family, helps to
Yeah.
have a level head.
It,
Now, speaking of surgery, surgery can be daunting or frightening to the general public. What could you tell us about surgery to help inform them and perhaps make them feel comfortable, if they ever feel comfortable?
well, what I'll tell you is if you're going in for an elective procedure, your surgical team has started preparing for your surgery a good hour and a half before it actually happens. They've gone through everything. They're looking at patient safety. They're looking at their own safety, getting equipment together, getting everything just exactly right so that to make everything smooth and safe. I mean, and it's going to be different for different surgeries, different types of equipment and stuff, but they have already been working hard for a good hour and a half before you ever get into the room.
Okay.
So they've been thinking about you a lot longer than than you think. Because you're VIP. Every one of my patients is VIP. It's the only person I care about at that given moment.
Okay.
Is who I'm going to be working on and who I am working on. And let me just tell you, we don't take anything lightly. You just can't. You just can't. So just know your nurses are already been talking and thinking about you for quite a while.
Okay. Now, of course, the game changes if it's an emergency situation.
It changes a little, yeah. I mean, there's times where we have a trauma patient come up and they've maybe been in the ER for 15 minutes, but they're going to not be around much longer if we don't bring them up as quickly as possible. Okay. And so, but we keep that's why we have separate trauma rooms for separate types of injuries, so that we know which room we can go into for the injury, and that room is already ready for you.
Okay.
It's already there. So we've got, if somebody gets stabbed in the heart, that room is already there ready. So, but that's how we do it to expedite, get things moving and not get behind the ball. Is everything is already there. We don't play around.
Okay. Legatus Legionnaire. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Legatus Legionnaire. Great question. We will get through the questions in a little bit, but I've got your question in mind. Now, Sandra's told me some amusing stories of life in the hospital, where I already tell that there are definitely stories in the hospital. I've heard one of them, that one of the scary ones on Halloween with the Overlord DVD. But and we talked earlier, you have a couple stories yourself, so please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to keep it lighthearted, but there was one night, and this was just last year. It was the Wednesday following Thanksgiving last year. And I was actually on call at home, and I got called in and they told me, it's a motorcycle crash, patient's unstable, they're coming up right now. So I just grabbed my bag and my keys and I drove into the hospital fast. I got out of my car and I started running through the one hallway that's open, and we have 5 police officers that are in-house 24/7 because we're a trauma center, and from where we're located, we're very close to the border with Mexico and the cartels and the drug, the gangs. And so I had to run by the police officer's desk, and he just waved at me as I was going by because he knows me. But then as I passed, he started laughing and he said, "You're wearing bunny slippers." I forgot to change my shoes. And so I get up there. So I get to my locker. I don't wear my regular street shoes into the operating room. I have a pair of shoes that I use just for surgery in my locker. So I put them on and we get in there and we start working on the patient. And I'm holding a retractor. Just so people can get an idea of what the retractor looks like. If I can do this without needing my glasses. Okay. This is, can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's called a Diva retractor, and it's a deep abdominal retractor.
Okay.
And so I was holding that handle, and we had it up. You were trying to take the spleen out, and I'm holding the handle. And it's always been, you learn that if you keep your arms close when you're having to hold a retractor like that, because you're having to pull up on it, keep it close to your body so that your arms don't get tired too fast. So I was holding it, and I had the handle between my boobs. And the surgeon, without looking up, tried to reach to readjust the retractor. Oh, no. And he grabbed my left boob and was trying to tweak it.
Ow.
And I remember looking down, and I looked down and I kind of looked at him. I said, "Does that feel like a stainless steel handle to you?" And so whenever I said that, of course, he looked up, but to this side, the anesthesiologist, because we have this like privacy drape between anesthesia and us. It was like an elevator going up. Anesthesiologist's head slowly popped up. Of course, the surgeon, he yanked his hand away and he turned bright red and he started giggling like Beavis and Butthead.
Oh.
And then he says, very loudly, "You're not wearing a bra." So now everybody in the room has just absolutely stopped and is staring at me. I'm like, shit. You know? And so I said, "I was at home. I'm on call. I was at home. You know what? I forgot to change my shoes too. I ran in bunny slippers." Everybody laughed. And so we went back to work.
Nice way to nice way to take care of the tension.
Yeah. And so we're working, and after a while we're closing, you know, patient's doing better. We're closing the abdomen up, and the surgeon just starts giggling like Beavis and Butthead again. I'm like, "What? What?" And he said, "Oh, I got some good news." I said, "Well, what's that?" And he said, "I didn't feel any lumps. You want me to check the other one?"
Well,
which I'm not worried about. He's actually homosexual, so I know he wasn't doing it to be perverted. You know, just trying to save face. Everybody else in the room thought it was hilarious. But after we were done and he took off his surgical gown, he balled it up into a really tight ball and he spiked it into the hamper, the trash hamper. Mm-hmm. And started doing the Icky Shuffle. You know, the Super Bowl shuffle, or the touchdown shuffle that Icky Woods used to do. He was doing that. And one of our nurses is Filipino, and she had only been here a short time then, and so she had no idea what that was. And he was telling her it's the Icky Shuffle. And she's like, "Well, what are you doing that?" And he says, "Well, it was a touchdown dance." He said, "The Icky Shuffle is a touchdown dance." She says, "Well, what are you doing that for?" And he said, "Because I just grabbed Wendy's boob and lived to tell about it. That's a touchdown and a 2-point conversion."
That's bad. Oh, that's bad. Well,
and that's that same surgeon. A few weeks ago, we had a guy that had, you want to talk about making a stupid bet. He was drunk and he had bet his friends that he had a nail gun, and he was betting his friends. He was bragging about it and saying, "Oh, it's got this sensor on it. It'll only fire into wood." And they're like, "No, if you put it up against anything, it just needs to be up against something. That's all the sensor is, to show that it's flush." No, it won't. Watch. I bet you $50. I'll shoot it at myself and it won't do anything.
A Darwin Award winner.
Yeah, the Darwin Award. Well, we saved his life actually, but it went into his heart.
Ow.
And so this is the same surgeon. Yeah. So now I ended up with my hand underneath, because whenever we opened him, we couldn't saw the chest open because we had the nail there, the nail head, and we were afraid we'd lacerate the right ventricle where the nail had gone in.
Yeah.
And so we had to make an incision below down into the upper abdomen. And I stuck my hand up in there and tunneled up underneath the sternum and put my finger in until I could feel the nail at the tip of my finger. And once I could feel it, the surgeon took a pair of pliers and he kind of very slowly wiggled it out. My finger went right into the hole of the heart. And which is an interesting feeling. If you just suck the tip of your finger, that's what it feels like when your finger's in a beating heart. And
okay.
Yeah. So then he's got to sew the chest open, but my hand's underneath it.
Ooh, I bet you were worried about that.
Well, I was a little nervous. And he said, so the surgeon actually said to me, he says, I'm going to apologize in advance just in case I cut you. And I said, if you cut me, I promise I'm going to break your nose. And he smiled real big. He smiled real big and said, at least I'll still have my hand.
Oh.
That's just, like, damn it, he got me again. So, but some interesting surgeons.
Yeah. What at least you work.
We saved him. He did well.
Oh,
yeah,
good.
He did really well. But yeah, that was kind of, especially when he grabbed the boob, I was like, didn't even realize it. That kind of hurt my feelings. Like,
oh wow. Well, I imagine that well, I don't know if that happens a lot, but I imagine it's an occupational hazard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not uncommon for the girls to get bumped moving around because you're working so close together, you know. And so there's, sometimes it'll be a little bump or something, but no, that was a full on.
Yeah. It was a full grip, huh?
It was funny. Yeah, it was funny.
Okay, here's a question.
It was at my expense. Okay.
This is a question from Legatus Legionii. Do your fellow nurses and doctors, because we know you actually listen to Overlord DVD during your sessions. Do your fellow doctors and nurses ever comment on the corniness of Harvey's and Beth's puns and jokes?
Oh yeah, there's actually a contest that they've started voting. They started voting every week. Every week they vote. And I'll put it into the chat, or one of us will. If we're in surgery, somebody will. But yeah, no, we vote on it every week. So far, Beth's undefeated. But they love it. They think it's hilarious.
I've seen your puns in Super Chat too, so you're a pretty good competitor as well.
I'm not that. I'm not as good as Beth.
Not as good as Beth.
Not as good as Beth. Nah, Beth has got some good ones. But it's just nice. It's just always fun to irritate Harvey. I think we all love that.
That's true. Trying to get him to get somebody to push the button.
Jimmy keeps trying to talk him into a colonoscopy, but he won't do it.
Yeah. I've been through one the colonoscopy and the colonoscopy in a box. I know it's a necessary.
Yeah.
Connie Moody has a question about are all your circulating nurses CNORs? And I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we're all also AORN.
What is a CNOR?
Certified nurse, operating nurse. Or,
okay.
OR, certified nurse for operating room.
Oh, okay. Now you said
we're all members of ANOR.
Oh, okay. Now you said you are on call. How often are you on call?
I usually take call a couple of times during the week, usually from like 11 to 7. Okay. It differs. We make up our own because we're trauma. We make up our own. And so sometimes I'll do a couple of nights in a week, and Olga, Kathy, David, Raul, we all kind of, between us, we cover the trauma call on night shifts during the week. And then the weeknight trauma team covers call with us to have our backs.
Okay. So if they need you, you hop into your bunny slippers and head on in.
Yeah, I forget to change out of my bunny slippers and drive in. And, yeah. Forget to put a bra on. Yeah.
Well, imagine it happens to. It happens.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens. Let's see. People put questions in. I'm sure she's glad to handle these questions. Let's see. Oh, welcome, Dalek 451. Thanks for coming on board.
I can't read it without
corny.
my glasses.
Harvey, corny. Who's corny, you son of a... Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Harvey.
Yes. For those who, this is your first time even hearing about Overlord DVD or Harvey. Harvey is an eldritch god trapped in a containment field, and always with the only way he can get out is to get a button pushed.
Push the red button. Yeah.
Push the red button, and he keeps trying to. He keeps trying to get out so he can annihilate our universe. So, you know.
And he wants to stomp us all.
Yeah, stomp us all.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, he threatened to stomp me first, but that's fine. Bring it on.
Well, he's got Mr. T up there, so, he's got to get...
Yep.
Okay. Here's a good one from Legatus Legionii. So the story of you putting the finger in the heart, did they make comparisons with the boy who saved the village with a finger in the dam?
No, nobody said that. That's a good one, though.
Yeah, that is a good one. Next time
that is a good one. No, nobody said that. They were too busy laughing at the fact I might get my hand cut.
Wow. Well, hopefully they...
Well, they weren't laughing, but it was amusing.
So...
We do a lot of strange things and have a very dark sense of humor, unfortunately.
Yeah, I get that. Sandra has definitely a nurse sense of humor, I call it.
Well, that one joke, I put it up on Friday Night Frolics a long time ago, and it was, a nurse died and went straight to hell, but it was 2 weeks later when she found out she wasn't at work anymore. That's kind of how it feels sometimes.
Have you had any... You mentioned about probably getting your hand cut. Have you had any occupational hazard? Have you actually had an incident while sticking your hand in somebody's body?
I would say the closest thing that's really happened, and I wasn't cut, but we have what's called an electrical cautery pencil, and it's just a plastic pencil, and it has a metal blade, and it's attached to a box, and it's just metal cautery. You just push the button, and it'll help zap on some of those small little bleeders that you get. Okay. And unfortunately, so we're always using it like when we're opening the abdomen, and you get the whole, you open it up first. And so what I'll do is I'll slip my fingers underneath, and the surgeon can just go across my fingers. And that way we're protecting the bowel underneath from getting injured. And unfortunately, if you have a hole in your glove, you will get zapped. And that's happened to me before. I got zapped. I mean, it hit so hard. I actually didn't even, it was 1 second. He was running the cautery pencil across my fingers. And then next second I was on the floor. And that's how hard it hit me. And my finger hurt for several days afterwards, just throbbed.
So it's an electrical
shock.
Ah,
yep.
Okay. Ouch.
That's other than that, I mean, we've always been very careful with blades. You're very careful with needles and stuff like that. But yeah, the boby got me. That's what they call it, a boby. That's the man that invented its last name was Boby.
Okay.
But it's an electrical cautery.
Brett Cohen has a question. It's obviously a high stress environment. So, what do you do to relax and defrag from a hard day?
Actually, one of my favorite things to do if I've had a really stressful day or night, since I work nights, is I quilt.
You
I make
quilt?
quilts. I quilt.
Oh, okay. So that's
I
where you
make
get it
quilts.
from, Sandra.
This is one of
Sandra.
those things that I just watch every single stitch, and it's just nice and calming.
Okay. Yeah, Sandra crochets, among other things.
Yeah, she showed me an Afghan that she did for Doomcock. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it is. She's working on something for our granddaughter too. It's a lovely blanket. She's so creative. So yeah. So you quilt. Do you do anything else to decompress?
I run. I mean, I exercise and jog and play with my dogs,
How many?
read. Just try to be very low key. How many?
How many dogs?
Huh?
How many dogs do you have?
Oh, I have 2 dogs. I have two.
Oh, I have two. Okay.
2 dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. Cheyenne hopped up in my lap at the last Archvillains stream. So everybody saw her, but Ramsey, she's 11 years old. My other one is a year and a half old. And he wild. But it's fun. He likes to play, you know. I have a good time with him. But yeah, very low key. In order to get all the stress out, very low key. Very, very boring stuff to calm down. I mean, I use breathing exercises while I'm in a trauma to calm myself down so that, you got to be able to stay focused.
Mm-hmm.
And so through breathing exercises, I'm able to do that in traumas.
Okay.
But lead a pretty low key private life. Except for the wedding that's being planned.
Oh my God, that's gotta be stressful.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting calls every day from the planner, and that's fine. We know, but at least we're not having to do it all ourselves. So
that's true.
We got her helping us.
You got a planner.
Yep.
Hey, Orville Nation. Hey, PJ, how you doing? Welcome aboard.
Hello.
Let's see. There's another question here. Did you get back at the surgeon after such mistakes with bad puns or other non-injury means?
What kind of mistakes? You mean like just the
yeah.
Actually, a surgeon was very concerned whenever I got shocked by that electric cautery. He came running around the table to check on me. He was concerned. So I mean, we work together all the time. All the trauma surgeons and the OR staff, and we're just a happy family. I mean, we spend so many hours together that they're just extended families. And he was actually very worried. So a lot of the time, whenever we're bantering, it's just playful banter to control the stress.
How long have you been with this particular team?
I started with this team. Well, we got a new member that I had to bring in January. That's Raul. He's our youngest member. Before Raul, there was Leon. But Leon, 2 days before Christmas last year, he committed suicide. But Leon, it was Kathy, Olga, myself, David, and Leon had been working together for 6 years.
Wow. So consistency.
So Raul's the new kid. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that I put together we put the trauma team together, is because we already know what we're going to do. We don't have to ask. We don't have to, everybody knows their role depending on what the trauma is. Because everybody has, like, Raul is our orthopedic specialist.
Okay.
I do the cardiovascular thoracic special. Olga is neuro. Kathy does eyes and ENT stuff. That's what she's really good at. And David is kind of an all-around, can do anything. He's very talented. I can stick him anywhere. He can do anything. So, but we've been together a long time.
And Olga is the
She can't sing. She can't sing. Oh. She loves to sing. I can't sing, but I know I can't sing, and I don't want to hurt people's ears. Olga doesn't care. She's a character. Olga is actually,
What does Olga do in the team?
She's our neuro specialist, but she kind of gets involved with the cardiothoracic stuff as well, but she's mainly our brain and spine surgery specialist.
Oh, okay. So she's also a doctor.
No, she's not a doctor. We're all nurses.
Oh, okay.
No, she's a nurse like me.
Okay. How many surgeons are actually part of the team?
The trauma surgeons, we have 5 general trauma surgeons. We have 3 heart surgeons that do trauma. We have 4 orthopedic surgeons that do trauma, and we have 3 neurosurgeons that do trauma.
Okay.
And then the eye specialties and like ENT, eyes, GYN, those are just normal on-call surgeons that come in. But as far as the trauma that we see that do the different trauma specialties, that's the numbers for our doctors.
Okay. And the surgeons are the ones that actually come in and get plugged in. The team is the trauma team that you mentioned is the nurses. The nurses.
And the surgeons come in and work with us. Okay. Yeah. Right. And a lot of the surgeons now are actually starting to enjoy the Friday Night Frolics with Doomcock. They like the variety. They love the variety show. Jokes and readings and, and it's that they like that.
And singing, of course.
And singing, yeah.
Yes. For those out there, please, if you haven't subscribed to Doomcock, please like and subscribe to him. Okay, let's see. During your non-trauma surgery scheduled days, have you done any scheduled surgeries? Or are you strictly...
I used to do scheduled surgeries. I used to do, I was part of a regular OR team after I got out, after my 20 in the Army, and I went back into surgery. Mm-hmm. I worked in a regular OR for several years. I was on the heart team doing elective surgeries for hearts. But no, I've done all of, gallbladders, hernias, different things. I've even done total joints replacements and stuff like that. You have to do all that and be good at it before you can even consider being trauma. You have to be able to do all that stuff. You have to be able to do all that stuff before. Yeah. It's a step ladder. You have to start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a good one from Stellar Heather.
Hey, Stella, Heather.
Question for Wendy. In your opinion, which kind of surgeon is better for spinal surgery and fusions, ortho or neuro? That's a good question.
Neuro. I would say neuro. I know orthopedic surgeons that have done spine procedures, but neuro is really... That would be my only choice, would be the neurosurgeon if it was my spine.
Okay.
So.
Let's see. Please put some questions out there. Wendy is glad to answer them. Let's see. Sandra's got a good statement. Nurses are the backbone of any team. Docs do tasks. Nurses do the assessments and actually take care of the patients.
Absolutely.
And I can definitely relate to that with my stay.
Nurses keep doctors legal.
I've heard another version of it.
Some doctors try to go a little past their limits, but the nurses are there to make sure they don't.
Yeah. Sandra says that Nurses are there to keep doctors from killing the patients.
Yeah. I've gotten into arguments with surgeons and I know one of these was over something really stupid, but we got into a big argument over it. It was a patient, and this was an elective procedure, and this was quite a few years ago. The patient came in for an umbilical hernia repair, and she had this really large skin tag on the inside of her thigh, about halfway down her thigh. And the surgeon wanted to remove it, but it wasn't on the consent. And he was just going to take a pair of scissors and snip it, but she didn't say anything about it. There was nothing on the consents. And he and I got into a huge argument, and I had to say, you know what? If she was concerned about it, she came to see you about a hernia. Seems like she would have told you to take care of it. Maybe that's her friend. Maybe he talks to her. Can't be. We got into a huge argument over it, but no, can't let him do it because it wasn't on a consent.
And everything's got to be on the consent.
Everything's got to be on the consent. She wakes up and it's not there, she's going to be angry. She brought it up.
That would make sense. Legatus Legionite tied into the earlier question. Do you still do elective surgeries now? Or are you strictly?
From time to time, I will go in. Yes, because I am an RNFA, and the heart surgeons will ask me to come in and help them, assist them on some of their more difficult hearts, like the valves and redo valves and stuff. So yeah, I still do elective stuff, but I assist the surgeons. They ask me to come in and assist with them.
Okay. This is an interesting question. What shows or movies do you feel have done the best to reflect what you go through as an Army vet?
You mean from a nursing standpoint? Or just in general?
Let's just go with the nursing. I think that's what he probably means is a nursing. He'll correct us if it's not.
Yeah.
A nurse. I think of Army medical, and I think of the gold standard, which is MASH.
And I actually loved the movie MASH. I loved that movie. And yeah, that's kind of, it's pretty close, MASH.
Yes, he wants to know strictly about being an Army nurse, which movies.
Yeah, and that's, yeah. There's not a lot of movies or TV shows about Army flight nurses, and but MASH is probably one of the ones. Yeah, I still love that movie. I watch it every so often.
How about the show?
The series is good too, but there was something about the movie that just really liked it. I even did a football game and it was funny.
My favorite part was when they went to Japan and started Hawkeye and Trapper started talking Japanese.
Yeah, that was funny.
Another good one. Another one I liked was China Beach.
China Beach, I watched a little bit of it. I was usually pretty busy, so I didn't get to catch a lot of it, but the ones I caught, I liked. Yeah.
Most people don't know that the theme song was "Suicide is Painless." Oh, I did. When they actually
Johnny Mandel.
Yeah, they actually sang it in the movie.
Johnny Mandel. Yeah, Johnny Mandel sang it. I like that song.
Yeah, I did too. Let's see. I think you convinced Heather. She says her surgeon is going to be a neurosurgeon.
Good choice.
Okay. How does a MASH type surgery compare to those in the hospital?
Well, MASH type surgeries, I really didn't get to do a lot of because I was a flight nurse.
Okay.
Now, I worked in surgery very early, but there's not really too much. I mean, the ORs are going to be a little different because they're on bases,
Okay.
But it's not. It's a lot more technologically better now than it was during MASH.
Okay.
So I've got a lot better anemones and air conditioning, stuff like that. Back whenever MASH was on back then, they didn't have with that electrical cautery system that we use today. And so surgeries were a lot slower because surgeons had to take time, and every single little thing that bled, they would have to put a clamp on it, and they'd have to take a little suture tie and tie it down, and so that it wouldn't bleed anymore. But now we have electrical cautery; it goes much faster, and so there's been a lot of changes in surgery since MASH.
Which stream are you looking to share, or PJ, Ortho Nation? Just put it in the stream, and Sandra, let me know. And again, Heather, thank you for being here. She put a smiley face, and she meant to say the teary smiles. One of the stories I'd like to hear again is the one you did during the Halloween stream. If you can tell us about that.
With the 16-year-old. Yeah. Oh, that was just I'm surprised I didn't freak out and run away. I honestly am. I think back now, I'm like, how did I just stand there? I mean, we had this young girl. She was 16, and this was very late at night. She had pulled out and onto the road in front of a tow truck, and the winch of the tow truck hit her driver's door, went through her door and into her. I mean, the winch went through the door and pierced her.
Oof.
And then as the vehicle separated, the door was ripped off and she was pulled out and was laying on the street. But her injuries, I'm not going to go graphic, but they were, the only reason that she was even still had a heartbeat was because she was 16 and she had a young, healthy heart. I'm just going to say that. Okay. Most people wouldn't have survived getting to the hospital with the injuries that she had. But she still had a heartbeat, so we had to take her to the operating room, which eventually her heart gave out. We couldn't do anything for her. But afterwards, we were cleaning the room, and Olga and David were in the room, and we were, just kind of cleaning it up. We still had her body still on the OR bed because the room was so messy. We didn't want to bring a stretcher in and roll it over a lot of red stuff. That was all over the floor. The floor was covered in red stuff. And if we did that, we'd take it out and we'd be trailing it out into the hallway. So we were just kind of cleaning around her. And I had actually walked out to take a couple of trash bags out to the hall, and they both kind of gasped real loud. And I went back in, and they were pointing at the same far corner of the room, saying that they just seen her. They had seen her apparition standing in the corner looking at them. And I thought, okay. So now, everybody, they were, well, let's go ahead and get her out. Let's get her out of here. So we decided to just stop, took her out of the room, put her into another little private room, because we couldn't take her to the morgue, the hospital morgue, because it was a police investigation. So we had to she had to stay in our custody until the coroner came to pick her up, but we had her in a separate area. But after we cleaned the room, I was getting what is that? Something just popped up. I was pulling supplies from a supply room so that we could get the trauma room reset up for another trauma. And I had turned around and I saw her standing there. I mean, it was an apparition. And after we cleaned the rooms and we're doing that, in that time frame, her drug screen had came back, and it came back positive for everything. Alcohol, cocaine, marijuana, heroin, everything. Yeah. And so I was really kind of upset because we had, felt really bad for her, and we don't like losing patients. We cried, we had tears. And she was just, the way she was looking at me, it just kind of startled me. And I had told her, so I just flat said to her, look, you pulled out in front of a tow truck. You tested positive for everything, alcohol and drugs. It's not our fault. We tried to save you. We cried for you. You did this to yourself. And then she just disappeared in front of me. But I was so upset because of that. And then for a while now, I'd always kind of felt bad that was the last thing she may have actually heard on, But Corleone told me that it probably helped her to pass, which makes me feel a little better.
Okay.
But, I mean, I still think, wow, I never thought I'd experience anything like that. I had chills and everything. It was...
Yeah, I can imagine. Legatus Legionine has a question. Is there a reason for the different color of uniforms or protective gear?
Well, there's color-coded things. Throughout a hospital, most hospital staff are color-coded to departments or to their titles, like for RNs. At our hospital, all RNs wear dark blue scrubs.
Regardless
regardless of what floor you're on, you wear dark blue scrubs.
Okay.
And so that's how we can tell who's who. Like our labor and delivery wears purple. Our nurse aides wear light green. And it's just throughout the hospital, it's color coded by either title or department. If you're a nurse, or of course the OR is light blue, because that's just what they give us to wear. But yeah, that's how color codes are done. Does he mean by staff or?
Yeah, no,
as far as protective gear, yeah. But whenever you walk by somebody in the hospital, you'll know they're a nurse or nurse aide just by what they're wearing.
Okay. For everybody, please share this stream out. This is a really interesting interview, and let's pass it on to anybody who will watch it. Please also like and subscribe if you haven't already, because this is an example of what King Dolphin TV is going to be doing in the future. Let's see, questions. Hello, Agent Pepsi 1, and thank you for your thank you. Blessed be the veterans. And as I said earlier on, veterans are what kept and continues to keep this great country as it is. So please remember to thank vets, and not just one day. Thank them all. Thank them all the time. Hail Maria with Tia and Telly. Welcome aboard. Let's see. Trying to see if there's any questions. Any more questions out there? Yeah. So I am guessing taking your kids to work day is not something you can do.
No. My son never wanted to go to work. He doesn't even like hearing my stories. He gets his stomach gets turned whenever I just tell him about, or Jimmy and I tell him a little bit about a trauma. He doesn't like hearing any of it. Which is really funny because he just got married last year and his wife is now a nurse too.
Oh, he'll be getting the stories.
He didn't want to hear any of it.
Oh, he'll be getting the stories, whether he wants to or not. Sandra has a good question. How do you deal with interns and residents? Or do you deal with interns or residents? If so, how long does it usually take you to whip them into shape?
Right now, we actually just started last year a surgical residency program. So we don't even have any residents right now, surgical residents that are high enough in the food chain to be able to do surgeries yet. So I really have very limited time. I see them in the ER and stuff, and there's been a few times I've tried to remind the residents to, do this or do that, like put a Foley in. We've had a patient that's been hit by a car, and they'll do everything but put the patient's order a Foley urinary catheter, and that's something that we need to see, because if there's blood in the urine, we have an idea of what's injured. And they get angry with me, and I just tell the trauma surgeon, and they bitch them out and tell them to do what I say.
Or here's Wendy. Here is Agent Pepsi 1's solution. For Wendy, it'll take like 10 seconds and a smack to the back of the head.
There's been a couple of times where I want to do that to regular surgeons. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do a fluke smack.
Yeah.
Smack him in the back of the head with your fluke, or with the dolphin fluke. So I'm hoping there's more questions out there. Please, if you can think of something. Oh, this is a very good one. If you're okay with answering this. Do you think having gone through the armed services better prepared you for the trauma team than just going through college?
Yes. Yeah. I was in a lot of stressful situations, and I learned how to control my breathing and stay focused. And my experience as an Army nurse definitely did that.
Okay.
Definitely did that. I see a big difference. I can see a big difference between the military nurses and regular civilian nurses. And two of my trauma members on weekend nights are Raul was in the Navy, and David was also in the Army. And they have so much better control in stressful situations.
In fact, I was going to ask that how many military nurses are in your team, and you've answered that. Hello, Zax. How are you? Welcome aboard. Let's see. Well, if okay, we're getting okay. Here's a good one. Good one, and then I'll get to the funny one. Would you then recommend that route for those wishing to become a nurse, etc.?
I think that you're going to get a lot of great life experience if you go through the military in general. So I would always say, yeah, you're going to get some very good real life experience joining the military.
Now, I know the medical corps does different commissioning, but have you ever run into anybody going through one of the military trade schools, or did the medical strictly go through the civilian route and then become military?
I'm sure there is, but I don't think I've ever met anyone that did that exact route.
Okay, so nobody from the academies.
No.
Okay. And I think Zach says it all when he asks, do you ever make residents carry your bag like rookies?
Yeah, well, like I said, we don't have a lot of residents right now. Program just started, but yeah, I make them do a lot. They do a lot I even make them change light bulbs. They had to learn how those work too.
And Snorter Poopa says, I would agree with that getting life experience in the military. Wish I'd done that, but then I was just a silly bear. You're not a silly bear, you're a wise old bear.
Not at all.
So I think if there are no more questions out there, and unless you've got another anecdote.
Let me think for a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I see Snortopupus. How many residents does it take to change a light bulb?
50.
50.
Because they have to find the light bulb first.
Have you ever experienced the Monty Python surgery room? I would be afraid to. I've seen Monty Python. I would be
I don't
very
think I've
afraid.
seen that.
I've never seen the
I don't
surgery
think I've seen
thing,
it.
but I've.
I don't think I've seen it. I'll have to
Yeah.
look at it.
Agent Pepsi One says she would totally faint if she had to do anything medical. So would I.
I think a lot of people say that, but I think that when you're there in the moment, I've only actually ever seen one medical student pass out, and it was a second year, and she went into radiology. She's on her first surgery, and the surgeon took her finger and put it down on top of the bowel and said, "There, you touched the bowel for the first time," and she went straight back.
Well, how about the start? You remember Quincy, the medical?
I remember.
And he does the orientation, opens up the body, and every one of the doctors just collapses,
drops. Yeah,
and he's over there going, "Huh? What happened?
Where are they?"
Yeah.
That was a good show.
Okay. Here's Agent Pepsi One asks, please ask Wendy, who is this magnificent Olga, and does she have a CD of her greatest hits?
If she does, I'm going to try to burn it before she can get anything going with it. Olga is she is a very, very good surgical nurse, but she has a very colorful personality. She actually went to clown college, and she is a clown. She does birthday parties and stuff like that. She is a character, and she just cracks us up. She does. Olga. Nobody wants to hear the singing, though.
Raymond, Sandra says that I tell her she has no bedside manner. She is not impressed by a cold. She's dealt with people who are dying who have had open heart surgery. A cold doesn't register on my sympathy meter. And I take it the same with you.
Yeah, pretty much. I have a cousin that she was in her 20s. She's in her 30s now. This was quite a few years ago. She needed to have she had bad ear infections, and they were going to put tubes in her ears like they do for children. Mm-hmm. And she was bawling and crying and telling me how scary, and she this and that and this and that. And I was like, you know what I do for a living, right? I mean, how she was mad. She got mad at me because I wouldn't give her sympathy for tubes in the ears. She wasn't even going to get general anesthesia. They were just going to give her a little bit of gas, and it takes 5 minutes to do both ears. Just give her a little bit of nitrous. But yeah, I tend to be the same way. Call me when you're bleeding, you know.
And let's see. Does your team sometimes break out in song?
Whenever Doomcock is singing and the songs they like, yeah. Olga sings all the time, but we're constantly leaving the room if we can. She loves that frog song. That hello, my baby.
Hello, my darling. And tied into that, who is the best singer in your trauma team?
Kathy's a really good singer, actually.
Kathy.
She's the one. Whenever we're doing surgery, it's Kathy that's always typing into the comments whenever she can type a comment. It's Kathy that does the typing when we're in surgery. I think she's supposed to put on there Kathy typing before she types what she's going to say.
She
does
actually
she?
does.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want
What
people
does
to
she
think
do
it's me while we're in.
Yeah, as you've got your hands in somebody typing on the.
Yeah. Well, she doesn't always have time, but sometimes if she does, she'll put a little comment in. But
what does Kathy do as part of the team?
Kathy is one of my circulators. She is also my eye and ENT specialist. So whenever we have eye trauma or some kind of a ENT trauma, she also does oral surgery trauma. And those are her specialties. But she does usually she's on the computer doing charting and stuff whenever we're in a trauma. If it's not eyes, ENT, or oral.
Okay. Olga, Agent Pepsi 1 says, Wendy, be honest, it's Olga, and you know it.
She cracks us up. Olga's funny. We used to love her. She was going through the clown college. It took her a long time to learn how to make those balloon animals. She would cuss like nobody's business. She would pop them like, you can't do that at a birthday party.
Has she ever come on? Has she ever come on call? Has she ever come in on call wearing the big clown shoes?
No.
No. Or just to do
she
it.
She says they're hard to walk in.
Okay. Or just to come in to lighten up the mood.
She's come in with her clown makeup on before. For Halloween, she came in with her clown makeup on. She had to wear her scrubs, of course, but she still had her clown makeup on.
Okay. Snort says the closest he ever came to surgery was having sedation dentistry, and that was interesting. The drive home as a passenger was wearing off, and he saw 3 school buses revolving ahead.
That actress is good stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some good stuff.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll tell you guys, the chat is blowing up with interesting anecdotes and good questions. I think they're coming up with some good questions. What do you think?
I think they are too.
Zach says, I have a buddy who responded to a stabbing victim and saved his life by sticking a finger in his neck. The guy he saved tried to sue him. What a world. Have you run into that before? Where you save somebody?
Actually, we have.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do tell.
Yeah. This a woman in her mid-20s. This was quite a few years ago. Because Jimmy and I, we don't actually work. Well, it's a long story why we're not allowed to work the same shifts anymore. Sandra knows it. But we were actually still working the same shifts at that time. And we had a girl come in. Well, she ran her truck into a palm tree at over 70 miles an hour.
Wow.
And she was unconscious. So whenever first responders showed up, they brought her in. You know, she was unconscious. We rushed her to surgery. We saved her life. And she tried to sue us for saving her life because she was committing suicide. And the judge basically threw it out, telling her the next time you want to commit suicide by driving into a palm tree at high speed, pin a note to your shirt and the first responders won't even bother.
Oh, what a simple. Are you sure the judge wasn't a nurse?
We thought that was pretty funny, though. But yeah, she tried to sue the hospital. She tried to sue Jimmy. She tried to sue me and a couple other members of the actual OR team. And she tried to sue the ER doctor as well. And it was all thrown out because if you want to kill yourself, put a damn note on yourself first.
Well, Agent Pepsi has to go. Thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Please share this out to any of your friends, family, etc. This is what I hope to accomplish on King Dolphin TV.
Have a good one, Agent Pepsi 1. It was nice seeing you here.
Take
care and stay safe.
Yes, be safe. Connie Moody says, Does the OR equipment rep still bring in food and gadgets for the staff?
Yep. They're suck-ups.
Sounds like a story there.
I was once asked by one of the sales reps if I wanted to go into sales for OR equipment and stuff, hardware stuff, and I said nope, because I'm not a salesperson. First time a surgeon complained about something, I'm like, don't call me again then. You know, you don't like it, don't call me, call somebody else. But yeah, they're always bringing, like, usually they'll bring pizzas and stuff, simple stuff like pizza.
Okay.
Everybody likes pizza.
Yes, always pizza. Can't go wrong with pizza. Yeah, along with Legatus Legionii is saying he heard that a person sued because someone had to do CPR and did not give consent for chest touching motions. People just sue for anything, it seems.
Well, it's implied, you know. Yeah. If your heart's not beating, it's implied.
Yeah, that you're going to do something to
right.
To save
we you know, it's just we assume the person doesn't want to die, and 99.99% of the time that's true. People don't want to die; they would want to be saved.
Okay. Okay. Well, we've been on for about over an hour, and the chat again has been fantastic. Great questions, guys.
Yeah, really good questions.
And great interaction, and you guys are amazing. Please share this stream out to friends and family. Hopefully, Wendy, you're gonna put this. Your family is gonna take a look at this, and if so, yep. Jimmy, hi, Jimmy. She's
still at the hospital. She's still at the hospital. She must be. It must be moving a little slow. She's got, that one patient that she's closing the belly on. She's a trauma surgeon, and the one patient she has to close the belly on, that could be a while. So it's a big patient.
Bionic Belly Button says, what was the day that you said to yourself, this is why I became a nurse? Best day ever.
I actually say that quite a lot whenever we save someone that's so close to losing. I love what I do. I love what I do.
Bionic Belly
saving that, the lives. It's what I live for. I love it. It's a passion. I got to do it. Got to do it. Don't ever want to stop.
Bionic Belly Button, if I may say, has just graduated from nursing school and is working to get her get through the boards. Good luck, Bionic Belly
Congratulations.
Button. You'll be fine. Just study hard. Okay. Let's see. Oh, man. Questions are coming on.
Good.
Yes. Okay.
Next year I will have been a nurse for 30 years next May.
Wow, nice. Thank you for your service, both in the military and as a nurse. Congratulations.
I love it. Love it.
Snortopupus, this rowdy old bear, says rubbing the foot won't do the trick. Got to do the chest thingy.
Yep. Got to do the chest thingy.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a sternal thump.
Yeah. And thanks, Bionic Belly Button, for coming by. And nee. Legatus Legionii says, have you ever had any of these roadside business assists? Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor/nurse in the house, etc.? I guess he's saying
I've been involved. I've been involved in a couple of things outside the hospital, and quite a few months ago, I think I even told Sandra about it. I was at the grocery store. I left the hospital, and I'm actually wearing the shirt I'm wearing now. It says trauma on it.
Oh, okay.
And I was in line behind a lady with her granddaughter, and the granddaughter collapsed, not breathing.
Ooh.
She was blue. And this is between the cash registers at at a grocery store. But I grabbed a hold of her, and she was blue, and I laid her down and gave her some breaths, and she still had a heartbeat, but I gave her a really hard, what's called a sternal rub with my knuckles. And the whole idea is it's painful, and it'll make her take a breath and hopefully stimulate a gasp. And it did. And I was able to get her going. And I've been there, witnessed car wrecks and a couple of motorcycle accidents. Yeah.
So you've
I
ridden
prefer
in
if it's going to be on something that's on the outside of the hospital, as long as I'm not the trauma patient ever again. I was a trauma patient at the beginning of this year. But as far as getting on the ambulance, no, but I'll assist the EMS and paramedics with, getting a line started, this and that, getting some IV fluids in them, whatever I can do to help them so that they can transfer to the hospital, because they really don't need me to go with them for the drive. Drives aren't that long.
Okay, so you don't go into the ambulances.
No, but I assist. I mean, I'll be there before them, like with that 11-year-old girl. And whenever they showed up, I mean, the paramedic and the EMT, they looked at me, and were like, because they know me, they see me in the ER, and they were like, "What the hell? You can't even wait for them to bring it to you anymore." I'm like, snooze you lose.
Yeah. Well, if you're heading out, Snortopopus, thank you for coming, and you were a good bear. He says, take care of a human, dolphin, ferret, marsupial, or whatever you identify as. Yeah.
Have a good one. Take care and stay safe.
Yep,
Thank
stay
you.
safe, Snort. And we have a new addition, Tiger Stripes. Welcome aboard.
Tiger Stripes. Hello.
Yeah. Grab a seat, grab a cup of Joe, and she's got a good question. Do you think, Wendy, do you think you're addicted to working ER because of the buzz you get when you save someone? And did you work trauma in the Army?
Yes, I worked trauma in the Army. I was a flight nurse, and I also was a combat nurse. I don't think I'm addicted to it. I never like to see people injured. No, it's not an addicting high for me to save someone. It's just
What you do.
An accomplishment. It's just every trauma is even if you have the same, a stab wound to the chest, every trauma is a challenge. And I enjoy the challenge of, can we do this? Can we climb this hill? Can we climb this Mount Everest? And it's the challenge, and the people that I work with, and we've been a team for so long. It's just something that we do because we want to help. We don't actually like seeing injury. I mean, every time somebody comes in injured in the ER and I see them, I go down and watch for the assessment, and it's like, oh, well, that's going to be a hill to climb, But then it kicks in saying, you know what, we can do this. Yeah. We can do this. Mm-hmm. We can try. We'll always try. We'll do our best. Yeah. In fact, on the back of my shirt, I have a logo on the back of my shirt. I won't turn around, but it says on there, "You expect the best, we give nothing less."
That's good. That's
the saying for our trauma team. You expect the best, we give nothing less.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you triage, or is there another team that does the triage before you even see them?
I have a trauma pager that I carry whenever I'm in house, but I stay up in the operating room. When the trauma pager will go off whenever we have traumas, and I will, if we're not busy, if I'm in a surgery, I can't go down there, but I will always report down there and follow the assessment with the trauma surgeon. And if I can't go down because I'm busy, if one of my other team members is available, I'll send them down, because there's times where we have to open the chest in the ER.
Okay.
And if we have to open the chest in the ER, there needs to be an OR person available. And so one of my other team members will go if I don't.
Okay.
Usually David.
Okay. And what's the longest shift you had to work?
It's the longest shift I've ever worked.
Mm-hmm. I imagine you guys don't do crew rest like pilots do.
Nah. The longest that I was ever on the clock was 28 hours.
Ow! Wow.
On my feet working 28 hours in surgery.
So that case
but
was
the state of
different?
Texas, it
Go
was
ahead.
getting tiring. It was getting exhausting. But they've changed the law since then. Now nurses are not allowed to work more than 16 hours a day. If you work 16 hours, if you're still on call, you have to find somebody else to cover their call, and they have to have at least 8 hours off. And that's a new law in Texas. So there's no more of that. 16 hours is the limit. But
And
that was before then. That was quite a few years ago.
And that was one after the other.
Just 28 hours of surgery, one after another, never stopping.
Wow. Must have been a tough night out in the city.
Yeah.
And hello to Tiger Stripes, in case I missed saying hello. Glad you're here. Let's see. I'm looking with you guys. Okay. Legatus Legionite is asking a lot of good questions. We're going to give him the medal for interacting. Are you in the habit of having those emergency EMS kits with you in your car at all times with just in case?
Absolutely. Yeah. I got a big trauma kit in my vehicle.
Well,
we also have...
Go ahead. I'll ask.
But I also have an AED, one of those automatic defibrillators, the little portable defibrillators. I also carry one of those.
Well, you almost have to under the Good Samaritan law, don't you?
Well, it's not required.
Oh, okay. But it's a good
not
thing
in
to
Texas.
have.
But it's always a good thing to have, even if it could be for yourself, you know. But no, I've got my trauma kit has everything in it, including tourniquets, and I even have some of the hemostasis dust that you can put on a laceration to help stop a lot of the bleeding by just sprinkling the dust on it.
It sounds like pixie dust. Okay. Looking through. Looking for any questions. Hey, Renier, welcome aboard. Glad you can be here.
Hey, Rennie.
Okay. The ambulance thing here confuses me. They send one from the fire department, one from the private contractor, but the contractor does the transport. My brother actually told me. My brother actually is a fire medic in Cleveland, and he told me they do that, but it's always going to be the medical transport that finalizes it. Is that the case where you're at?
Yeah. Usually the fire will respond whenever there's something that could be possibly CPR or something like that, even with heart attacks and stuff, just to be there to aid and give help as first responders. But yeah, no, it's the private companies that do the transports.
Yeah. Cleveland had actually EMS, so it wasn't private contractings. But it was still separate medical transport. But I think they've probably merged since then. Okay. Tiger Stripe says, combat nurse. Wow. I imagine every case is different. That would be very challenging.
Yeah. But that's one of the advantages of having the team together that we've had for so long, for so many years, is that we already know what our strengths and weaknesses are. What in the heck is that? Can you hear that? Somebody started a boat motor. No, it was here. But yeah, I mean, and it's always a challenge because no two injuries are exactly the same, you know, but that's where having a good team that you're used to working with really comes into play.
Yeah.
You know them, and it makes the challenge a little easier. Mm-hmm. We don't always win. We don't like to lose.
Yeah. Do or do not. There is no try. That's true.
Exactly.
Yeah. Zach has a good question. Any patients that stand out as especially dumb? Well, we got the one with the nail, with the nail
gun guy. Good Lord.
Any others?
Did he hear one about the nail gun?
I think he was here about the guy with the nail gun. Yeah.
We have some patients that have done some pretty interesting things to themselves to end up in the operating room.
Okay.
I don't want to get graphic. I want to try to keep it PG, but I'll say foreign bodies. Yeah.
Okay. PCAT has one. What is the one advancement in treatment technology that you feel has been the most effective and useful?
I would say special procedures, intervention radiology. There's a lot of times now when we have patients that have ruptured spleens, we don't always have to take them to surgery and cut their spleens out and give them a big cut.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times if the patients are stable and they're holding their blood pressure, there's intervention radiologists, and they will come in and they kind of do like almost the same thing like whenever you had your stent put in.
Mm-hmm.
They go in through the femoral vein, usually the right femoral vein, and they can snake up through there and they can actually block off the main splenic artery and stop the bleeding, and the patients will never have to have surgery.
Well, that's good.
And they are getting extremely good at that. There's going to be a day soon where a lot more surgeries trauma surgeries are going to end up being, to the side because of all the amazing things they're doing in intervention radiology. I always go and watch just because I think it's cool. And I'm there in case the patient starts to go bad. That way I can call the staff upstairs, but I always look to go and watch them. But it's really interesting.
Okay,
it's very interesting, and it's very impressive. It really is, and it works really well. Really well.
Yeah.
We even had a patient that had a lacerated internal carotid.
Mm-hmm.
And it was bleeding. The guy had been shot. He was sitting in the back seat of a car, and somebody was shooting at them. The bullet actually hit the back of his head and exited the roof of his mouth.
Oh.
It didn't even touch his teeth. And the bullet went through there and buried into the seat in front of him. He survived. The only thing that was when he had that hole in neurosurgery and oral surgery and everybody, they all tried to stop the bleeding. At the end of the day, the only thing that stopped the bleeding was the intervention radiologist. He was able to snake a wire and everything up there and block off that little branch off the internal carotid.
Oh, wow.
And stop the bleeding. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. And they're only getting better and better.
Yeah. Zach's didn't hear the nail gun story, so could you give us? And I'm sure there are new people that have come in that haven't heard it. If you wouldn't mind doing a quick recap.
The guy came in. He was drunk. He'd made a bet with his friends. He had this new nail gun, and he was telling his friends it had a sensor, and the sensor, he was saying it would only pick up if he was firing it in wood, and if he put it against his chest and fired, it wouldn't fire because it wasn't on wood, and his friends were telling him not to do it, and he bet on $50 and did it, and of course he fired a nail into his heart. And so And this was just a few weeks ago during Friday Night Frolics.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah, you told
and so we ended up having to go in. Yeah. And we ended up having to go in and had to go down into his abdomen and cut in there because we couldn't saw through his chest with the nail inserted because the nail had dimpled his skin, the head of the nail. And then the nail got into his right ventricle of his heart.
Ow.
And so I'd put my finger up in there and we pulled the pin out. My finger went into the hole in the heart when the nail popped out. But yeah, then the surgeon cut the sternum open over my hand. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was good enough that he didn't slice your hand open.
He didn't slice my hand and I didn't have to break his nose. Yeah. Because I promised to. I promised him. He said,
yeah,
I'm apologizing in advance in case I cut you. I said, if you cut me, I promise I'm going to break your nose. And he said, at least I'll still have my hand.
Snort says, Snort says he used to work 12-hour shifts a lot, and mistakes do get made when you're that tired. Lucky I wasn't dealing with emergencies, just routine stuff. I can relate, Snort. I've done my share of more than 12-hour shifts.
Yeah, that's what we work. Our hospital, all the nursing staff, hospital-wide, is on 12-hour shifts. Because of staff shortages and shortage of nurses, they had to move to 12-hour shifts because they couldn't staff 3 shifts. They could staff 2 shifts. So they couldn't staff 3 shifts a day. Yeah. But people get tired.
Mm-hmm. Or people do not show up to shifts and you're stuck doing longer.
Extra. Extra.
That's happened to me.
Yeah.
That's happened to me. So, let's see. Oh, welcome, Tyron Beard. It's late, late, Donna. It's late at Down Under. Glad you can make it. Legatus says, how often do the EMS people stay to give information and updates on the patients they bring in?
They stick around for a few minutes. They don't leave right away. There's a lot of times where we have questions for them as we're proceeding in the assessments. They even take pictures, like if it's a car wreck, they'll take pictures of the car and show us so that we can understand the mechanism of injuries. They'll show us the pictures of the car that the patient was in. And they stick around for probably, they'll, most of the time, if we have to rush them to the OR, they're still there. Because they also have to clean out their ambulances and stuff after every patient.
Mm.
They have to wipe everything down. And so they're there for a while. They're usually about a turnover of around 30 minutes.
Okay.
Which gives us an opportunity to pull them and, hey, how long is the patient down? Stuff like that.
Okay. So, Zach says, what a moron. Yeah.
Yeah, whenever they were telling me about the reason why, and that the friends were telling the doctors and everybody why he did it, and I was thinking, what, did he think it had Bluetooth also? A Bluetooth nail gun maybe? I don't know. That's what I don't think I could afford a nail gun if it was that fancy.
Yeah. I'll stick to the hammer and nails. At least there I just smash my finger if I hit it wrong.
Yep. Yep.
Well, Wendy, how long do you think you've got in you? We're at an hour and a half.
We can still keep going as long as you want. Okay. People have questions.
Yes, people ask questions. A lot of good questions, and she'd be oh my God. This guy, are you, Mr. Bear, are you want some chin scritchies on this one? So, Mr. McGillicuddy, a GI Joe does not belong in your GI tract. I'm sure you've seen a lot of those. I'm sure you've seen a lot of those.
Yeah. One even claimed it was space aliens that did it. Yeah.
I couldn't.
He even filed a police report.
G.I. Joe was not. Oh my God! Someone give the bear.
You hear a patient say, aliens stuck my shaving cream can up my butt. And you're like, what?
Oh God! Give us a new meaning to the word probe.
Yeah.
So yeah, give the bear some salmon. Let's see. Bendover is the highest grossing salesman for thermometers in the U.S. because he has some reach around. Okay, here we go. We got the Harvey puns starting. That's good. That's good.
That's funny.
Yeah. I used to have a schedule of 9, 16 nines as a schedule rotating. Day 3 was always tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our optimum on our shifts were supposed to be, we were supposed to have enough people where I can do 3 days on, 3 days off, or 3 nights off. I worked night shift. Never seemed to work that way. It usually ended up I'd work 2 days, 2 nights, 2 off. I'm like, ugh. Please get us some more people.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons that we ended up having to move away from 8-hour shifts with the nursing staff and go to 12-hour shifts, because there just wasn't enough staff to cover, and people were always having to put in a lot of overtime.
Yeah, a lot of yeah. Have you ever felt regret when you have to cut up some expensive clothing to do the surgery?
No.
Got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a couple of times where it was kind of tough, because I saw one of them was, and I'm sure I know you'll remember who the Houston Oilers are.
Yeah.
We had a patient that had to have he was wearing a vintage Earl Campbell jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And he got into a car wreck and they had to cut it off of him. And that kind of hurt.
Yeah.
That's vintage Earl Campbell. Boy, that's an expensive jersey. That's worth a lot, collector's item.
Oh yeah.
But for the most part, I'm really not paying attention to the clothes anyway. I'm more interested in the patient and what do I need to do.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm looking to see if there's any more questions out there. Let's see. I feel for you, Legatus Legioni. 2 were enough for me. 2 were enough for me in 10 years. I had 3 colonoscopies in 10 months.
Wow.
Yeah, that's.
And some digestive issues.
Yeah. So, hey, Jill. Welcome, Antiderivative Jill.
Hello.
Hope enjoy, and if you've got any questions, please feel out answer. We've got Wendy Webb for as long as we've got questions. Oh, okay. Here's a couple good ones. Legatus Legioni asks, how often has a former patient come back to thank your crew?
We've had a few. Most of our patients are trauma patients and don't really remember us.
Okay.
But every now, I will tell you though, when I'm at like the grocery store or wherever I'm at shopping, family members will recognize me. and talk. And that's how I find out a lot of, and they'll thank me and fill me in on how the patient's done since leaving the hospital and stuff. But I get recognized by family members more than my trauma patients because most of them are unconscious. But there's been a few.
Okay. Hey, welcome, Lori Wilson, and thank you for that.
Hey, Lori.
Thank you for the well wishes. And let's see. We got a lot of Doomcock wrenches here. Welcome.
Well, I don't know how you guys do that on Doomcock's Friday Night Frolics. That chat moves so fast. I can barely keep up. I'll see my name light up, and I'm like already having to scroll backwards just to see who it was and what they said. I don't know how you guys keep up with it. It's just
we're a good team.
Crazy. You guys do an amazing job at that.
Yeah, we're a good team. Everybody chipped in.
I'll catch it.
To swat trolls and help the stream go smoothly, so Doomcock doesn't have to worry about it. Have you had famous patients? You don't have to name them.
No. Okay. About the most famous patient that I have ever had was a guy that he owned a car lot, and he did commercials for his car lot. And that was about he didn't make it. He was hit by a car while jogging, just like me, except he was hit much worse.
Oof. Yeah,
that's the closest to a celebrity.
Yeah, that seems to. I knew somebody. Somebody from my temple, and it was a freak snowstorm, but she still went on her daily constitutional. She was hit by a car, and then as she was reacting from the first hit, a second car hit and killed her. She never made it to the hospital. But I
thought my leg was amputated. Yeah. Whenever I jumped, because I realized I was going to be hit, and it hit my left side, but I jumped trying to land on the hood. And the grill of the car caught my lower leg. And Sandra has seen the pictures. I'm sure showed you the pictures. I don't know if she did, but I sent Sandra.
She has. I looked away very quickly.
I thought my leg was gone. I really did. Well, but the team I work with and the surgeons I work with, good people. They saved my leg.
It was your team that did it. Great. A testament to the team you've got built.
Yeah.
And, of course, on a lighter note, our friendly bear patient. That was an expensive Givenchy outfit. Nurse Clouseau. Not anymore. In my poor French accent.
It's probably still better than mine. That's funny.
Give him some more chin scritchies.
I'm sorry, I forgot to read the tag. We had a girl, she was 14 years old. This was several years ago. She got stabbed in the heart over a pair of pants. Her and a friend of hers got into an argument because she had loaned her friend a pair of pants, and she wanted them back, and they started fighting back and forth. And the friend stabbed her in the chest, and it hit her left ventricle. And we took her to surgery, and we saved her. But she was actually stabbed over a pair of pants. And then the pants that she was wearing were cut off of her. And when I went to go see her in the ICU the next day, because I always go back to look at my trauma patients and see how they're doing post-op, she looked at me and she said, "You cut my pants off." And I was like, "Yeah, that was your biggest problem." not that hole in your left ventricle. Of course, the mom jumped on her and like, "Leave her alone. I told you to leave the pants alone. We'll buy you more pants." Crying out loud. She got stabbed over a pair of pants, and she yelled at me over a pair of pants.
Oh boy, people nowadays. Sandra asks, tell us a little bit about how you prepare your care plans. It's a good question.
Well, the care plans are going to be according to what type of surgery we're doing. For example, and I had put one out for Sandro just as an FYI, so something that you could read into is for spine surgery and the amount of work we do getting ready for it. And we have so many things to take into consideration for any surgery. From patient safety is number one and staff safety is number two. And so care plans start with, okay, where's the patient going to be at on the bed? What kind of a bed do we need for the procedure? Because we have different beds for different procedures. We have beds that we can rotate and switch things around in so that we can have x-ray. So we got to know, is this going to be a case where we're going to have to do fluoroscopy x-ray, live x-ray? What's wrong with what's, different things like that going into the safety, all the straps, make sure you have all your straps together. What's the patient, what kind of allergies does the patient have? The patient's got this iodine allergy, everything with iodine out of the room. Doesn't even gets taken out of the room so that there's no mistakes. And as far as the rest of the care plan, it's how's the patient going to have to be positioned for surgery. If you're having regular like abdominal surgery and a hernia, there's not a lot to it. You're just laying on your back with your arms out. Mm-hmm. But there's different things, we have to take a lot of different positioning into consideration. Equipment for patient positioning, like with spine surgery, patients are going to be on their bellies prone, and there's a lot of things you got to have and a lot of equipment, and you got to be able to make room for all of it. But it starts with the patient. Allergies, that's a big one. Iodine allergy, antibiotics, and we look at all of that as soon as we can. And we don't have that in us during trauma patients, because trauma patients, unfortunately, enough trauma patients that have issues don't wear medic alerts to tell us that I have one because I'm also allergic to iodine. And I have it on mine that I'm allergic to iodine. But yeah, we take allergies into consideration. We take what's the patient, where are we working at? And you even have to take the surgeon's preferences into considerations. You have a right-handed surgeon or a left-handed surgeon. That even matters.
Oh, wow. That does matter? Wow.
Even that matters. That even matters, because depending on what hand is dominant for the surgeon, depends what side of the body the doctor's going to stand on. If he's right-handed and he's doing an abdominal procedure, he's going to be standing on the patient's right side, so he can work with his right hand in the abdomen and have better angle. If he's left-handed, he's going to stand on the patient's left side. And we have to take all of that into consideration too. What, is Dr. right or left-handed? All that kind of stuff.
Okay. And
there is a lot that we go through, and we have sheets for procedures for doctors, and each surgeon has they're called preference cards. And the surgeon's preferences for procedures, going from sutures, what kind of sutures do they like to use? What kind of instrumentations do they prefer, and all that kind of stuff. And so that goes into how we're going to, our care plan is how we're going to proceed with the procedure and have it all together. And so that's why I was saying earlier.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So in advance what each surgeon, their quirks, their likes,
it's all written out.
It's already written out. So it's a checklist for Dr. John Doe.
Yep. Wow. The surgeon for this procedure, and they're called preference cards. And it used to be they had actual cards, and you would go into a card book, but now they're all on the computer, and you just go in and you pick the procedure type, like say you're going to fix a broken arm, RIF of an ulna and radius ulna. You just go in there and you say RIF of an ulna, radius ulna, and then you'll choose which surgeon. And then that'll print out, and you'll have everything that tells you what the surgeon wants. It even tells you what hand the surgeon is, left or right-handed, what they like in the room, preferences, sutures, this kind of stuff. And all that stuff is there ready in the room before the patient ever gets to the room. All of that is
Okay.
done. By the time the patient's brought into the room, all of that's taken care of.
And how long does that usually take? I mean, is it a matter of minutes, or is it a half hour, or
It can be anywhere. Well, like if we're doing a heart surgery, let's say, for example, like a valve, heart valve.
Mhm.
It takes about an hour and a half because it's an elective procedure, but it takes about an hour and a half to get everything perfect, because you also have to get all your instruments counted. You got to get your sponges counted, your sharps counted, all that kind of stuff has to be counted. And that's all done before the patient even comes into the room. And any trash, if you want to, once a patient comes into the room, you do not remove trash from the operating room. All trash bags have to stay in the operating room. So we try to get all the trash out that we use, which we consider clean trash, because it's all, stuff from sterile supplies that you open to the field. And we can't even take the trash out once the patient's in the room, because what if somebody accidentally throws away a sponge and it wasn't counted? Because we don't throw sponges, don't get thrown in the trash till the patient's out of the room and they're counted.
Okay.
But it takes about a good hour and a half just to get ready for like a valve, a heart valve. And a spine is probably around the same hour and a half. If you're doing like a gallbladder, about 30 minutes. Hernia surgery, those don't take too long to set up for.
Okay.
Which is why when we have our traumas set up, our trauma rooms are set up, we actually set them up for whatever surgeons are on call for those specialties, so that we have all the stuff that the surgeon actually wants for whatever surgeon's working that night.
So they can be preset,
we set the rooms up to them for the surgeon themselves.
Okay. Okay. So it's like not like pre-setting up a room for any particular.
Yeah, no, you can't do that for just any. Yeah.
Okay, so it's
specialties. I mean, orthopedics, cardiac, neuro, they all require completely different equipments.
Okay. Connie Moody asks, is the OR educator position still being used in the OR?
Yes.
What is that?
We have one. That is someone that's in charge. That is the coordinator, ER, the education coordinator for the OR. Mm-hmm. Their job is to basically keep everybody up on current technologies, bringing in people that can. We are always getting technologies change so much. They'll bring in reps from different companies to show us their new stuff. Like even for lasers, we got a new argon laser that we use for liver lacerations for trauma. And everybody had to be brought up to date on the argon laser. That's what their job is to coordinate all of that, make sure everybody stays up to date. They have a list of every single person who attended it, who didn't. This person still needs to go through it. And they coordinate and make sure everybody is up to date on all the new equipments and practices and stuff like that. That's what they do. That's a hard job.
Okay.
Trying to wrangle everybody in.
Before the procedure.
Well, not even before the procedure. I mean, these are like these are done once a month. She'll have something once a month. She brings in, and we have a staff education day once a month, and as many staff members as she can get to come in, and then we'll do it. And sometimes she has to chase people around.
Okay. So she is in the trauma room, but preferably she'd like to do it before a situation happens.
This is just education, staff education.
Okay.
It doesn't have to actually be a surgery. It's staff education in general, just to keep everybody up, because we're always getting new equipment. OR tables themselves change. We have to learn how to put them together and stuff. And it's just stuff like that. All sorts of stuff. Orthopedic hardware for fixing bones. That changes, it may still be the same basic theory, but the instrumentation and how they put it in and how, that kind of thing, that changes. And that's her job, is to make sure everybody is kept up to date on a regular basis on what's changing and just keeping the technologies and everybody moving forward. So it's staff education. She's not actually doing this for a particular surgery per se.
Okay.
It's just because we get new stuff and we have to learn how to use it.
Right. That's true.
But yeah.
And along those lines, with so many from Legatus Legionnae, with so many medical records now moving online, how often are they used when there is no medical bracelet to warn of possible issues?
I know sometimes, and of course, on my patients, I don't even know the names of my patients sometimes. A lot of times, my patients are John Doe or Jane Doe because we don't even have a name. They're unconscious. But whenever we do, if the patient has been in our hospital, it comes up immediately. We know their entire, once we have their name. And we can look up all their past history just to see what's going on with them. And it's there, and a lot of times it's within the systems for hospitals that, like HCA is a company that owns a lot of hospitals nationwide. It's HCA. They, a lot of times within a region, all the HCA facilities in a certain region, if a patient walks into one, their records are not, and it can be accessed by all those in that region.
Right.
So no matter what hospital they're taken to, they can get the history on them.
True.
But yeah, like a lot of my patients, we don't have names to start with.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, and this is something that a paramedic had told me, and firefighters have told me this too for the car wrecks. They wish women would actually carry their ID in their pockets, like in their back pockets or something, instead of in their purses, because whenever you have a rollover, the purses, everything goes flying everywhere, and they can't figure out what ID goes to what person because sometimes they look a lot alike, and they can't figure out who's who. Which goes along the lines with the not knowing the name.
That's
but
true.
They're why can't women just wear IDs in their pockets?
They put their phones in their pockets.
But yeah. But if we have the names of the patients and they've been through the system, yeah, we can get a good medical history on them, which is actually good because it's a good way to figure out when they're unconscious what they're allergic to.
That's
and
true.
Different things.
Bionic Belly button asks, do you have to set up the monitors? Sometimes these things act up and they don't do right. The ones they look at while navigating that show everything magnified.
Which monitors? The EKG monitors or?
Let's see. Hold on, let's see. If you'd clarify that, BB, we'll go back to this one. I'm seeing another question from you, and we'll go back to this one. You don't have to do the counting, though. Do you have, or is that the surgical tech's job, or do you have to do 2 counts?
The surgical techs and the circulators count together. They have to count together.
Okay.
It takes one on the field and one away from the field. Yeah. The person that's on the field, the technician or whoever's scrubbing it, and the circulator count together. And the first count, you do all the count before the first patient gets to the room. And then you start doing your next count. And the next amount of counts depends on what kind of surgery you're doing. Because if we're doing like an abdominal surgery, we have to do a count before the abdomen is closed. Then once the abdomen is closed, we do another count just to make sure that everything is still accounted for. So for an abdominal surgery, you do a total of 3 counts. 1 before, 1 closing, and 1 before the skin gets closed.
Okay.
And so, and then, yeah. And sometimes if you're doing, there's procedures where you're working within a cavity in a cavity. Like let's say a uterus is considered a cavity in a cavity. You're doing some kind of a uterine procedure like a C-section where you've opened up the uterus. You have to do a count before you close the uterus. You have to do another count before you close the abdomen. You have to do another count again before the patient can be, before the skin and dressing can be put on. That's 4 counts.
Okay. Okay. I think we're going to get close to wrapping up because I know I'm I will be losing Sandra soon. So
Which monitors? Did she answer which monitors?
no, it doesn't look like it. She did have another question. Do you guys have the machine that does surgery that looks like Doc Ock? There isn't much to do with those. I guess a multi-armed surgery device.
Oh, the Da Vinci surgical robot. We have one. Well, we have
Uh-huh.
two. I don't use them in trauma, but they use them a lot for like hysterectomies, gallbladders,
Okay.
hernias, laparoscopic procedures where you have the scope in the abdomen.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can use the Da Vinci for a bunch of different things, but we have what's called the Da Vinci robot.
Okay.
And it's got a lot of really all over the place.
Okay. She says, I guess this is her clarification, monitors in the OR. So do you, okay, so let me, do you have to set up the monitors in the OR?
On the night shifts, we reset up everything for the anesthesia. The monitors are on the anesthesia machine. And on the anesthesia machine during the week, there's actually what we have is anesthesia techs, and they'll come in they only work day shifts, but during the nights, if we have to reset things up, we have to reset up. And so we know how to reset the anesthesia machines, and that's where the monitor is located for the EKG and the different monitors. All the different ones are on there for anesthesia. But yeah, we set those up.
Okay. Okay. Guys, you've had outstanding questions.
That's been really good questions.
Yes, very good questions. And
I'm glad I knew all the answers.
I'd like to. I'm going to say goodbye, and then we'll do some show notes. And Wendy, don't go away. We'll talk in the back room after we take care of this. But let's say goodbye to everybody. Take care, Tyron Beard.
Yeah. Guys, everyone, thank you.
Yes. Bionic Belly Button, thank you. Yeah. Legatus Legionite, great questions. Great questions.
Amazing questions. Really good questions.
Zach's.
I hope I was able to clear things up.
Good night, Zach, Sandy Masterson, Connie Moody. Of course, the Wrenches, Lori, Jill, Rennie. Good night, Bionic Belly Button. Night, Tyron Beard. Of course, good night, Snorter Poopers. Hope you got your fill of salmon. Great questions, great comments. Guys, it was a wonderful chat. I enjoyed myself. Wendy, I think
I did too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we look to hope to have you back on.
Anytime.
Okay. I'll hold you up to it. Zach, thank you for coming. Jill, again, good night. Agent Pepsi One left, but good night to her. Cat.
Yeah, everyone take care and stay safe, guys. Everyone take care and stay safe.
We'll see you for good night, Tiger Stripes. And everybody stay safe. Show notes. Tomorrow will be obviously is Friday Night Frolics on Doomcock's channel. Pop Culture Breakdown on Doomcock's channel on Sunday. I'll be having on next Wednesday, Point Curation. We will be showing some of his artwork if anybody is interested in looking at it. I've seen it. He's got some really good stuff. Later on in the month, we're going to have a new segment I call Just Cause, where I'm going to bring someone and we just chat about other things. It may not happen Wednesday the 24th, since that's Thanksgiving, and I'm sure everybody's going to be out prepping their meals. And then on December 1st, I'm going to be doing an interview with a couple of Civil Air Patrol members. It's the 80th anniversary of Civil Air Patrol, and I wanted to get them on to talk about the program. It's a great program. So, everybody, have a great evening. Stay safe, and I'm sure we will be talking to you at another time. For any veterans out there, thank you for your service. Wendy, thank you for yours.
Thank you for yours.
Thank you.
And Sandra.
And Sandra, thank you for your service. Belly Button, thank you for your service. And anybody else I missed, again, thank you for your service. As I said at the beginning, the veterans are what keeps this great country the way it is. So, on that note, let's continue to make some waves. And the King Dolphin coffee shop is closed.
Oh, it was fun.
Oh, wow. That was great. I had a great time. How about you?
Yeah, it was really, those were some good questions. That was